Yo, 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 class. This is our last video in 10.1, graphing circles. This time we're going to find the center and radius of a circle, and this is the last material that you'll have a test on in the class before the final, so hallelujah, you made it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through how to put an equation like this into standard form so we can identify the center and the radius. So we want to put it so that it looks like this, standard form, but we're given this. So here are the steps right here. We're going to group the x terms together and group the y terms together. So I'm just going to rewrite these, and I'm going to leave a space here. And the reason I'm going to leave a space here is because we're going to complete the square for both of these. Remember that to complete the square, we're going to take this b term right here, divide it by 2, and square it. We're going to add that value here. So -6 divided by 2 is -3, squared is a +9. So I'm going to add 9 right here. That means I also need to add 9 over here. All right, and same thing here. I can do this whether it's x or whether it's y, it doesn't matter, but we've got to complete the square. What we're going to do here is take the 2, divide it by 2, and square it, which is 1. We're going to add that value right here. Whatever we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other. All right, so now I've completed the square, both of them. Okay, so you have to complete both the x and the y. And now I'm going to write these in factored form. So I want them to look like this. Remember, to complete the square, or to factor this perfect square trinomial, I'm going to put x here, the 9, square root of 9 is 3, and the sign that goes here is this sign right here. It's going to go there. So I'm going to have a negative here, and then this one is going to be, again, this y goes here, square root of 1 is 1, and the sign right here is the one that's going to go here. So this is going to be squared, and then I'm going to add all these together, and that's going to give me 25. Now that I have this written in the standard form, I can identify the center. The center is going to be the h value, right, and the k value. So here and here, h here is going to be 3, and k here is going to be -1. Again, this is -1 because this is really needs to be in the form of minus. That means that the actual value of k is -1. All right, so we've identified our center, and now we want to identify the radius. We identify the radius by taking the square root of 25. So the square root of 25 is just 5. So our radius here is 5. So you should be able to take a circle that's equation of a circle that's in this format, put it into standard form, identify the center, radius, and graph this. So this circle is going to be shifted. Again, we have in red here how the shifts work, but this 3 here is going to shift it to the right 3, and this is going to shift it down 1. So our center point is going to be right here, and then we're going to have a radius of 5. So from the center point, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so again, my graph isn't great, but you get the picture, literally. And this is our ugly circle. Again, the center point here is this 3, 1, 3, -1, and the distance from the center point to the outside is 5. All right, so let's go through this process again. Want to do a couple more of these so that we can practice this completing the square, but you can see again how understanding how to complete the square is extremely important, and that factoring is playing a part in all of this as well. All right, so our next problem, let's do x squared plus a 10x plus y squared, and I want to write this in standard form. All right, so I'm going to group the x terms and the y terms together. There is no y terms to group here, and there's no constant, so I'm literally just going to go here, and I want to complete this square. So I'm going to take, this is my b value of 10, divided in half is going to give me 5, and squared is 25. So I'm going to add that 25 right here, and whatever I do to one side of the equation I need to do to the other. So over here I will have a 25 as well. So I've now grouped and completed the square here. I want to write this in factored form. So this is going to be x plus 5 squared plus a y squared is equal to 25. This is now in standard form, and I can identify the center and the radius. Again, I'm going to take the square root here. This square root of 25 is just going to be 5, so our radius here is 5 again. And our center point is going to be, again, the opposite here. This is minus a -5, so the value of h is -5, and the value of k is 0. We didn't move at all in the y direction. So we have a radius of 5 and a center point of -5, 0. All right, so what does this look like? Well, we're going to go down, and our center point is going to be at -5. It's moving to the right. Sorry, drew the wrong thing. Or to the left, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so we're going to be at -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. And from here, we are going to go 5 from that center point, because our radius here is 5. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here, over 5, down 5, and right 5. And again, if I could draw really great circles and graphs, that one wasn't terrible. Our center point here is -5, 0, and the radius is 5. All right, so again, that example of completing the square. I want to do one more like this, and then show you a different kind that you might see as well. So we have x squared plus y squared plus 2x plus 12y minus 12 is equal to 0. All right, so this is not in any way, shape, or form in this standard form. So again, I want to group my x terms together, group my y terms together, and move the constant to this other side. So I want to put it in this format. So this is going to be x squared plus 2x. I'm going to leave space to complete that square here. And then I'm going to have a plus y squared plus 12y. Leave space to complete the square there. And I'm going to add this 12 to both sides, which makes this 12 over here. All right, so process for completing that square. I'm going to take the value of 2 and divide it by 2, and then square that. Again, 2 divided by 2, so this is the value b over 2. We're doing this and squaring it. That is the value of 1, so I'm going to add 1 right here to this polynomial, and or this expression, and I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Okay, and here I'm going to take the value of b, which is 12, divided by 2, which is 6, and square that. That means I'm going to add 36 right here. When I add 36 to this side, I also need to add 36 to the other side. Now that I've completed the square for both of them, for both the x and the y, I want to write this in factored form. So this is going to be an x plus 1 squared. Again, it's the square root of x and the square root of 1, and the sign right here is positive. The next one, I'm going to have a y plus 6. That's the y square root of 36, and the same sign here. Then this is going to be equal to 49. All right, so now that this is in standard form, I can identify the center. The center point is going to be -1, -6. Again, because these should be negative signs, that's why they're the opposite. And then the radius, this is the radius squared, so the square root of 49 is going to be 7, so the radius here is 7. What would this graph look like? Well, we are going to be, this is the one I should have drawn before. Negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to be all the way down here at the center point, and from here we are going to go 7 in every direction. So we'll be out here and down here and over here. So our circle again is going to be something like, something like this, with the center point of -1, -6. All right, so that is it for this video, and hopefully at this point, as you've watched enough of completing the square, you're really getting the hang of this, and it's coming kind of more as second nature. Oh, I lied. There's one more thing I want to talk about. If you see a problem that doesn't look like it's in standard form, or it does look like it's in standard form, but it has a coefficient like this. Again, there's a coefficient here before the x or before the y or whatever the case is. So we can see that these both have 6. Well, what you're going to do here is you're just going to divide everything, or both sides of the equation, by 6. When you do that, this 6 belongs to both of these and they cancel. So then really you just have x minus 4 squared plus y minus 1 squared is going to be equal to 4. And that is a lot easier than anything else that you might think of to do. Again, you're just going to divide by the coefficient if you see a problem like that. Then you'll identify the center point, which the center point here is going to be 4, 1, and the radius is going to be 2, because that is a square root of 4. All right, so you should be able to graph and put these in standard form.